Okay, I'd like to call to order the Township Council regular meeting for Tuesday, August 6th. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to, for the record, Amanda, note that the council met in executive session regarding litigation and real estate prior to this evening's meeting. Recognition and announcements, upcoming meetings and events. August 12th is the Planning Commission agenda meeting. August 14th, the Historical Commission meeting. August 19th, Planning Commission meeting. August 21st, Zoning Hearing Board. August 22nd, concert in the park, the Real Feel and the Fabulous Grease Band. Amanda, I heard you play tambourine in that or something.
Listen, the Fabulous Grease Band was a big request that we got, and we get
That's because
400 plus people.
That's because there's a lot of old people living in this town.
Listen, I liked it. I danced. I was there.
Okay. Okay.
For your information, the Grease Band is playing tonight in Marcus Hook.
Oh. God, I should not go off script. August 23rd, dinner and a movie in a park, migration. August 24th, the sand volleyball tournament at 9 a.m., sign up required, which I assume you can do on the website. August 27th, the council meeting budget workshop. Let's go into reports, public safety. Vanita, I'm going to hand that off to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, for the public safety report, we have our president of our fire company, Lee Veer Singh, who's going to take over from here.
Good evening, folks. Joe Hope, Deputy Chief of the Fire Company. Sometimes we'd like to give Lee a break and do a little work on our own. So just a real quick update on from the fire company standpoint for the township. Ambulance report for the month of July, the fire company responded to 367 ambulance EMS calls. Of those, 182 were in Concord Township. So that's 49.5% of our ambulance calls for the month of July were in Concord. On the fire call side, for the month, getting old's tough. Got to get the cheaters. For the month of July, the fire company responded to 103 fire calls. Of those, 46 were in Concord Township, which represented 44.6% of our calls. And year to date, the fire company has responded to 689 calls. Of those, 337 were in Concord Township, which represents 48.9% of our calls. From a training standpoint, the fire company in the past year has upped our annual hazmat training, which we do once a year. We worked on vehicle extrication skills. We did a tanker operation drill for areas with low hydrant density. We did engine company training for fire suppression and incident commander scenarios for pre-planned facilities, including the high school, which went very well. And the fire company also participated in May in the mock crash at the high school, which seemed to be very well received by the folks over there at Garnet Valley. So just a quick update on what the fire company is doing. Obviously, we appreciate everything you folks do for us. If there's anything we can do or you need, please let us know. I don't know if there's any specific questions.
Just for clarification, I guess, for our audience and our residents who are streaming in, the fire company right now is, the firefighters are 100% paid or volunteer, or what is your breakdown?
We are a combination department. At this point, our goal is to have 4 paid firefighters on at all times. We don't always meet that standard because of availability and manpower. We are predominantly running as a paid fire company. Okay. We have a small host of volunteers who are helping out, but we are more and more depending on our paid people to get the trucks out in a
naturally that comes with more cost.
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yes. And our volume is increasing dramatically. We are Last year, we were well over 1,000 calls on the fire side and over 4,500 calls on the ambulance side, and we're blowing those numbers out already this year, so.
And based on the numbers you gave us, it's safe to say about 50% of that is Concord Township.
Roughly, yeah, both on the EMS and fire side. That's obviously it'll vary month to month, but 45 to 50%, I would say at least.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Benita? Okay, thank you for your coming out this
Thank you,
evening.
folks.
And
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for the great job you do for all
Thank
of
you.
us. Benita, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
No, that was it for
Okay.
the public safety report.
Finance report, we have an audit presentation, so Dana's taking the night off. Bill, I'm going to hand it off to you. It's a microphone.
She hoards it, I apologize. Is that better? All right. The 2023 audit was recently completed by our auditors. It's currently in draft form, but we're tweaking a couple of the notes. However, the financials are finalized, so I was able to give a report tonight on a couple of those highlights from the report. So as always, the first thing is that we received a clean audit opinion. It was an unmodified opinion, which means that there were no issues or findings that were found during their testing. Presently, the township's total long-term debt stands at a little over $9 million, which is split between the township and sewer funds. It's $6 million for the township and a little less than $3 million for the sewer funds. This is comprised of two notes that are currently outstanding, the 2016 and the 2022 note. And then the next section, so the fund balances at the end of 2023 are listed. Essentially, fund balance represents the funds available moving forward for the upcoming year for purchases. In total, the township fund balance for government-wide, which includes everything you see there between general fund and the library fund, totals $10,311,000. And then the total combined fund balance for the sewer funds, which is comprised of the operating and the capital funds, totals $45,868,000. And then two things to note is that these are kind of annual things that we do. So out of the general fund, the debt, principal, and interest for the 2015 note is paid from there. And so that it results from a transfer out of the general fund of the $197,000 shown above. And then, as always, at the end of the year, Amanda and I kind of look over the finances, and we provide a recommendation to council for any transfers out of operating into capital for the township and the sewer fund. And last year, we had a $1 million transfer in the sewer operating to fund future infrastructure in the sewer capital fund. And then the table above represents the kind of the allocation of the township's fund balances. So fund balance is broken up into a couple different categories: restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned. The restricted portion represents about 2% of total fund balance, and those are resources that have been received mainly from developers that are restricted in the agreements that council makes during those projects. The total for that is $257,000, and the majority of that relates, or all of that, sorry, relates to traffic improvements in the areas essentially that those projects took place. The committed portion of fund balance is the largest portion. That represents 42%. And these are funds that have been committed formally by council for specific expenditures, mainly related to trails, parks, recreation, and land acquisition. This portion of fund balance can only be utilized if council has either committed and it's a resource being expended related to the commitment, or council makes an action to change the commitments to reallocate. The assigned portion makes up 38% of fund balance, and these funds don't have a restriction, but rather they've been set aside by management for an intended use. So these are available to be used, but we have put kind of an internal restriction on these to say that we are going to use these funds for what is listed above, mainly again, infrastructure improvements, as well as, open space acquisitions and maintenance for any current open space that is owned by the township. And then the last portion is the unassigned portion, and this is just for general purpose use. That makes up 18% of fund balance. However, 5% of that unassigned is for special purpose use, and this relates to the fire fund, library fund, and liquid fuels fund. So whereas these funds are not restricted, they've been segregated in other ways to essentially be only used for a specific special purpose. And then just some quick highlights. I know it's a little small, but this is just an excerpt from the audit that shows the budget versus actual for the operating fund. And just a quick highlights. The operating revenues in 2023, we received $238,000 over our expected budget, which was 6%, which mainly is comprised of the Act 511 taxes. They make up about 43% of that overages. Otherwise, most revenues were in line, either slightly above or slightly over what our budgeted expectations were. Just a little note for the other income, this is mainly comprised of reimbursements. So this category kind of fluctuates often every year. And this year we had many, as council's probably aware, traffic signal accidents where we replaced many control boxes as well as traffic arms and lights. So these get reimbursed through us through insurance. So that category was above, actual revenues versus budgeted, but that's a hard account to budget accordingly because it could be one, it could be three. I've already had two this year. And then operating expenditures were actually $6,000 below budget expectations, which is less than 1%, which operating expenses are obviously what we try to strive to meet because those are the items that we can kind of control when it comes to spending. And so then at the end of the year, the general fund saw a profit of $221,000, which is slightly less than 2022, but still obviously profit is what we're striving to go here so that we have funds moving forward into the future. And then kind of a repeat slide, but just as a reminder, this is the breakdown of real estate taxes for residential real estate payers. So the average in 2023 remained at $222 a resident. And then the breakout, as you can see below, is general fund, which is general purpose expenses, $89. Fire services is $19. Fire hydrant is $26. Library is $28. And the open space fund is $60. And just as a reminder, for 2024, this number has increased to $229 on average due to the millage increase last year that was dedicated to the fire company. So that changes the numbers a little bit, where everything went down $1 and the fire company's average contribution went up to $30 per resident. And then just a real quick chart on the last kind of 8 years of trends. The blue line, I apologize, I'm colorblind, but the blue line, I believe. Purple, see, there you go. There is a steep decline in fund balance between 2017 and 2019. That was due to the transfers that council made in 2018 and 2019 from the operating fund to the capital fund, which was the big increase in funding for capital, which you'll see on the next slide. Otherwise, the revenues and expenses over the last 8 years, as you can see, have stayed fairly consistent. We have been very good at hitting our marks between revenue and expense based on kind of our expectations and what we're budgeting. Just a quick note, and I say, I hate to bring it up, but since 2020, post-pandemic, which is kind of the benchmark of what was good and bad before and then compared to after, revenues have trended slightly down the last 3 years, while expenditures have begun to trend slightly upwards the last 3 years. So as you can see, we kind of almost meet that point in 2023, 2024 on the graph, where we start to cross kind of in the direction we don't want to be. And then same chart for capital. Again, that big spike is because of funding from the operating fund. And then as you can see, the two lines below, and Amanda can correct me on the colors. But revenues and expenses are kind of trending the same. However, as you can see, the expenditures are trending at a much higher dollar value since 2019, as that has been when council started utilizing the funds from operating for open space purchases, for infrastructure improvements, for parks and rec. And since the capital fund does not have a dedicated source, the only revenues that really come in are when we're able to make operating transfers to fund it, as well as any grant reimbursements that we receive for ongoing projects. And then same chart as previously before for the sewer. Just real quick on that. Sewer revenues were 9% over budget, mainly because of interest. We moved some funds in our sewer department into different money market accounts that yielded much higher interest rates. So that was a big spike if you look at the budget versus actual. And then as well as with the tapping fees, we actually received last year a numerous number of tapping fees from older sewer infrastructure projects that have been completed that I think people now, as they're selling their homes in these developments, we're starting to see the tapping fees come in from those sales. And then expenditures were 6% over budget, and this was mainly a result for capital asset related activity. So you can see depreciation was higher than the anticipated budget, as well as the loss on some assets that we sold, namely 620 Concord, the Gares property. But otherwise, the operating related expenses for the sewer department and the sewer plant and administration were right within line. They were only $69,000, actually below budget. And at the end of the day, the sewer fund saw an operating profit of $570,000, and as I previously noted, that along with an additional $500,000 was transferred by council from the operating to fund future capital purchases. And that's what I got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone? Thanks, Bill, for your expert presentation and your color awareness.
I apologize.
I'm just as bad, so I shouldn't say anything. Okay, open space, trails, and recreation. Mr. Crossan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had some great events this last month. We had dozens of pets for the Patriotic Pet Parade and Ice Cream Social. We had 18 pies submitted for the pie baking contest. And as you noted, we've got the fabulous Grease Band coming up on the 22nd, and I know that we'll have ice cream available for sale, and I believe beer? I think beer. I'm pretty sure beer, yeah. So, come to the fabulous Grease Band concert and have a good time. And then dinner and a movie, Migration. Fava is going to be selling food there. So some exciting additions and accompaniments to our events. And just around the corner on September 7th is Concord Community Day and the best fireworks you'll see in Delaware County. And I hope it doesn't rain this year. Boy, it rained a lot last year. But the Birdtown Committee has installed signs in all of our 4 key parks, identifying common birds that you will see in our parks. And so I encourage residents to check those signs out and get some bird watching in. Thank you.
Okay. John, you're going to handle 4 and 5, sewer, public works. No, you're handling 4, I'm sorry, sewer and public works.
Okay. First, regarding the sanitary sewer department, during the very hot month, staff dealt with multiple heat-related alarms. Because the heat was so pervasive, many of the stations, as well as the main plant, had nuisance alarms and equipment over temperatures. There were no serious issues, and they maintained a proactive stance. And the 2 pump stations, Robbins Way and Concord Woods, are scheduled for upgrade. Both of these capital projects should be completed by the end of the year. On to the Highway Department, Public Works. The road program construction. In preparation of the 2024 road paving, Public Works replaced 9 storm drain tops. In July, the staff repaired 2 large sections of road base on Penrose Talley and the Arbor Lee development. This work was done by Public Works staff prior to paving, was a cost-effective saving for the township. And on Spring Valley Road, staff completed an emergency pipe and end wall repair, replaced end walls and pipe. End of my report, thank you.
Okay, Building and Code Enforcement, Colleen.
Thank you. In the month of July, we had a total of 118 permits processed, totaling 776 for the year to date. 23 certificate of occupancies were issued, including 11 final COs and the Pulte Spring Lake development on Route 202. And a new business was issued a final CO, that was Action Services Group Incorporated. Thank you.
Planning Commission, Larry.
Thank you. The Planning Commission agenda meeting was held on July 8th, and the public meeting was held on July 15th. The current projects were recommended for approval to council. LU 81 LLC at 120 Ivy Mills, minor subdivision, along with NHB VA LLC at 1110 Baltimore Pike, car wash. We have no new projects in line. And on another note, Orchard Knoll Planning Module, Planning Commission review is complete and will be submitted to the township. Schedule for this month was listed earlier. They have their agenda meeting on August 12th, and the public meeting will be held on August 19th. That's all for planning.
Thank you. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. President. With respect to Concord Ventures, Judge Whalen indicated at the July status conference that if the parties do not reach an agreement, the matter will be sent to Judge James Bradley for a non-binding mediation. With respect to Penwoods Winery, pursuant to the order of Judge Eckel, the Concord Township Zoning Hearing Board has issued conditions for the grant of the special exception, and the township manager has a copy of the Zoning Hearing Board conditions in the township offices. And if I may ask, Mr. President, which pie won the contest, if anyone knows?
Cherry rhubarb.
Cherry rhubarb, okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Amanda, you have to do a little bit of job at that every year, telling us who won.
Yeah, this was the first one I couldn't attend. I'm there every year. I couldn't attend this one. Yep. Well, they
All right.
might not want their recipe shared now. Secrets.
Okay, let's get back to what we're doing here. Township Engineer, Mr. Klein.
Good evening, just a few updates. If you've driven by, you can see the improvements at the intersection of Schoolhouse and Baltimore Pike are winding down. I don't have the official opening date, but I'll coordinate that with Amanda and Lisa here so everybody knows when that's open and safe to use. The Spring Valley Road, the large culvert we were replacing, that work started on Monday. Unfortunately, a water main was located where it was not supposed to be. So we are looking at alternatives regarding the specifics of the pipe. And Dan Moyer, John Renzo, and everybody have dug in with the contractor. So there'll be a little bit more pain on opening and closing that road while we figure out our options. I'll keep the township staff updated and the public updated regarding the road closure. The Concord Woods project, that'll be starting in the next couple weeks. We're going to get the Spring Valley Road project done first, then this one. That could possibly change now with this utility conflict. Again, we'll keep the HOA over there. We've been in touch with them on a regular basis, so they're all aware of the project, and we'll continue to update the township. Road program, again, well underway. Should wrap up as early as this week, I believe. So all of those projects, multiple projects underway, with a few more on the agenda later this evening.
Thank you. Township Manager, John, go ahead.
Nate, just a question, a follow-up on Spring Valley Road, the replacement of that culvert. I was out on the job site today. I got a heads up from township manager about a problem being there, and it looks to me that it's going to be a while before that gets figured out. You have a Chester Water Authority main that would conflict with the storm sewer. The contractor was actually paving over the trench, which indicated to me that it's going to be a while. I'm sure Chester Water Authority will take their good old time figuring out what to do. So we're on pause for quite a while.
Yeah, John, no, I think we're certainly not getting back started in the next couple of days, especially with this weather anticipated through probably Saturday, this hurricane coming up the coast. The thought was patch it temporarily, figure out the alternatives, then get back in and get it knocked out, so.
Okay. Township Manager Amanda.
Sure. First, while Bill's still here, I wanted to thank him for doing that audit presentation. He does a wonderful job, is an amazing professional to work with, and it's great that we're able to follow council's initiatives of open and accessible government. That audit presentation will be available on our website, just like they have been every year since I've been here. If anyone ever has questions or comments, absolutely feel free to contact my office or Bill Kalin directly, and we're happy to answer any questions anyone has regarding our township finances. Additionally, in that same mode, the budget workshop that's coming up on August 27th, we welcome ideas. We would love for residents, young and old, to attend and provide information on things they want to see, ideas that they may have for future discussions. I think that I like to point out that's sort of the purpose of that meeting, not so much us dictating and telling everyone, things about what we're doing, but also to hear and take some feedback. So I encourage residents to please come and provide any and all ideas for us to flesh out and discuss with council. Additionally, I want to bring up the traffic signals. I've been getting lots of questions about the corridor 202 from Smithbridge through Naaman's Creek. Nate's sitting by my side, but I want to point out two things. Number one, the Naaman's Creek and 202 northbound control box was hit by a car. That's why that was out of commission and caused a lot of havoc for us, as we had parts that are ordered that have to come in with our specialized contractors. That is now back online and operating effectively. However, the northbound or the southbound side of Smithbridge also had an issue at the same time, and we're unsure if it was hit by lightning, had some type of an electrical issue, but that has caused a camera and a processor to get fried. We are on hold waiting for that order. That intersection, that signal has been off adaptive. They've put in off the adaptive system, and they've put in temporary times for that signal. However, it is not perfect because it's affected by the other side of that. On the northbound side, we are fully, we understand the issues it's causing. It's causing all of us issues, including our, emergency professionals. We're working hard with our contractors to get that corrected. And we have a meeting this week with Representative Williams' office and PennDOT to discuss the signals in the corridor and our adaptive system. So I just want to point that out, that we are always working on it. And if there's any comments, please feel free to email the office, email me. We take everything in stride and talk to our traffic engineer about it. And we are as responsive as we can be. However, I don't physically go out and fix the signal. We have specialized contractors who do that. Additionally, I just wanted to mention to council, we received recently, as you know, Target. There was a question and code violation regarding the trailers that are back there in relationship to their conditional use application. That was done years ago when that center was put together. And they are, they've given me a letter just this week requesting if council would consider them hearing on their conditional use to possibly amend it for trailers. I'm not necessarily looking for a decision right now. I want to make sure you understand, because this is a direct response of them to the violation, so they're not being fined. So I want to make sure I bring that up. Dominic, you and I had spoke.
Yeah, I think if they, I don't think if they decide to come in and request a hearing to amend the conditional use application, it would be up to us whether to accept it or not. So perhaps the prudent thing to do would be to see what amendment they're requesting, to see if it's something we would be willing to consider at a hearing, and then have them come in with a hearing. Is that something you think would be procedurally correct?
That's fair enough. And when maybe between now and the next meeting, they can send in their request, and then by motion at the September meeting, if you're so inclined, you can grant them time for a hearing in that regard.
Does anyone have any issues with that, or does that seem like the way we should go?
Is the general gist, Amanda, that they want to
The general just is trailers. They want like 8 trailers.
But they want to permanently keep
Yep.
them there?
They want to amend that section of the code.
Let's let them word it up, and then we'll be able to talk about it then. Okay? Yeah, so I think that would be the direction to give them. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Amanda, with regard to the 202 corridor, not to layer on any problems, but when, there's been questions in the community about when the lights, the new signals north and southbound with regard to the Pulte development will be turned on.
Great question, and I'll turn it to Nate because he's more familiar with that land development.
Yeah, so I was thinking sometime in the month of August might be possible, John. I don't have that confirmed. Again, as everything, there's one or two missing pieces that need to be secured there. So we're working with PennDOT. At this point, it's our preference to get it on as soon as possible. We really want to get that southbound light operational. We feel from a safety perspective, it maximizes safety there. So we're pushing to get that done. So I did not get an update for tonight's meeting. I just was out of town, but I will dig in on that and just see where things stand.
Thank you.
Nate, do they have to go blinking for a while
Yeah,
before they go active?
most-
What's it, like 2 weeks? or 3
Yeah,
weeks?
most like, it might be reduced just a few days.
Okay.
But yeah, both will be turned on at the same time. There'll be possibly a temporary flashing scenario for the first couple days. And then they will also be tied into the overall adaptive system, so they'll all be interconnected with the exception of one, something's malfunctioning or damaged by an accident.
So if they don't get struck by lightning, we're good.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, citizen comment. Anyone with any questions or comment? Karis, come on up. Looks like. And we know who you are. Before the drill, you have to give us your name and address, okay?
Karis Coker, 836 Concord Road. I didn't come to plan to say anything, but I was rather astonished to hear a $6 million debt of the township. Did I understand that correctly?
Bill?
The township owes $6 million.
Yes, we have done some financing over the years, yes.
Wow.
Go ahead, Bill.
The original one, it's a long time ago, but essentially 2011 and 2015, debt was taken out. The 2015 was the referendum from the reserve tax fund to essentially purchase open space. Those loans are 30 years. The one has 11 years left on it. That was the one that was refinanced in the 2022 debt. And I believe there is 15 years left on the 2015 debt. But it's $6 million, but it's long-term. Those debt indentures have been in place for at least 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
And the open space referendum was approved by the electorate here in Concord Township to raise the taxes in order to borrow the money and incur the debt in order to buy open space. So that was at the decision of the voters.
And that's what the portion of the dedicated millage
Right.
covers.
What about what's the debt that's on this property that the township bought? How much of that is from the?
Bill?
There is no debt on that. The debt is,
You didn't get this property was not just handed over to you. How
no,
much?
so that's what I say. So the property was paid for, but long before I think any of us, Dominic, you might have been here from that original debt indenture back in 2002. It's kind of been one of those things where, I mean, all municipalities do this in order to fund large purchases.
I'm assuming that the debt incurred to purchase this property and the improvements, which are lovely, was rolled into the debt along
Yes.
the way.
Everything
Okay.
has always
So
been, it's
that
never
my
new.
question was, what was the initial indebtedness to procure the property?
I don't recall.
You don't recall, okay. No, there was something you had just mentioned that I don't remember what it was at the moment, but thank you very much.
I just heard. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Cureton, 212 Bethel Road. I have to find out something about hunting. Are we a closed township to hunting? Hunting?
No. Basically, on Concord Township property, you are not allowed to hunt, but on private property, if you have permission from the homeowner and you follow all the rules by the Pennsylvania Wildlife Game Commission, you are able to hunt.
Okay, but you have to have permission of the owner of the
Yep,
property.
otherwise it's trespassing.
Okay. The only reason I asked this is a couple years ago, I had a crossbow hunter on my property, and I actually had to call the game warden in because the guy shot the deer within 50 feet of me, and I was out working in my yard when it happened. But I'm not sure any of you have seen this or not, but they're allowing three more Sundays for hunting.
Okay.
And this was an article in the Daily Times. And it also says, Sunday hunting isn't completely banned. Foxes, coyotes, and crows can be hunted year-round on Sundays. I'm not sure if anybody knew that or not.
Yep, I read that same article.
Okay.
I am familiar.
Is the township property, do we have signs up that say no hunting?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because we have a very big deer population that goes from my property, goes up to the new park that's up on Featherbed, and it goes into the property, your property that's next to mine. And I do see hunters going up the Pico
Well,
property.
if you let me know exactly and you want to shoot me an email, if there's signage that could be placed up somewhere more appropriately, we're happy to do that.
Okay, because it's like, I get a little leery in the fall because that's when I have to go out and work in my back property.
Sure, and you're allowed to post your property as well.
And my property
And
is
there's even another system that they use with either a ribbon or a dot that denotes that your property, it's through the Pennsylvania Game Commission, is not to be. They have other systems too outside of just signage.
I know that somebody knows that I have wildlife cameras up because when they came and they shot the deer, they cut my wildlife cameras down. But the police also know that I have wildlife cameras because every time something goes on running Spring Lane, they call and ask us if my wildlife cameras are working.
Yeah. But again, please email me. I can get Public Works out there to put some signage up if it's necessary.
Okay, thank you.
And Kathy, you're talking about, there are hunters in the Pico right-of-way under the high tension
Yes, they
power
do.
lines,
Yes, as a matter of fact.
which, that would be covered by Pico rules as well, so that I don't know.
They have no trespassing signs back there.
I haven't seen, because I've walked up there, I haven't really seen any signs.
Shoot me an email and I can, reach out to their government liaison
Okay.
and ask.
Because I know that pretty soon,
Shoot with a pun intended.
in the fall, there is somebody that runs their dogs up and down the Pico.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move into the business items. We're going to do the consent agenda, and we're going to break it into two parts tonight. First would be the total expenditures. Dana, do you want us to walk through them?
Sure, so the total expenditures for July was $894,448.33. That consists of July payroll, which is $192,083.78. Current bills, $438,239.26. And our sewer bills totaling $219,125.29.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve those expenditures?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Before we vote, Mr. Gillespie, you had something you want to enter into the record?
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself for the July payroll because my grandson is a part-time summer employee in the Public Works Department. Thank you.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the expenditures? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And you will note Mr. Gillespie's abstention. Correct, Amanda? Yes. Okay, the balance of the consent agenda is the approval of the council public meeting minutes of July 2nd. John, we have a certificate of payment we're going to handle.
Yes, we do. This is for Schoolhouse Lane and Baltimore Pike right turn lane. We have a certificate of payment in the amount of $139,995. This is payable to Moore Construction Services.
And we have no financial releases, but we do have some authorization for bids. And also, we have a bid award, so I'll let you finish them off, please.
Yes, the authorization to bid, we have two ARPA projects, Newland Carter Way Streambank Restoration and Spring Valley Road and Evergreen Drive traffic calming improvements. These were prepared by Pannoni. And the third one would be the sewer UV replacement capital project, which the documents would be prepared by HRG, our sewer engineer.
And then we have a bid to award.
Yes. That's John Crossan.
I'm sorry.
Bid to award is for Concord Township Park improvements. We received 8 bids, and the lowest qualified bidder was MOR Construction with a base bid of $595, $586.75, for a total bid plus alternate of $632,766.75.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve all those items?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please
Just
signify.
one quick question on the intersection improvements on Evergreen. I'm just looking at the Evergreen Drive at Stiers. So is this adding an island in order to more permanently restrict the left turn exit from the site, Nate?
Correct.
And then I see that it's the new median sort of doesn't go all the way up to the existing median. Is that just for emergency access?
I don't know that, I mean, that's pretty sketched out at this point, John. I wouldn't say it's been fully designed or thought out. That was more just kind of a vision of what it could be, so we can have a further dialogue on what the best location would be.
Sure, I just want to make sure that it's sort of maybe extended north enough so that folks don't try to cut around
We
it.
can take a closer look at that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, just to confirm, that bid for the Township Park is with the alternates included. So that's for the base bid plus alternates, just for the record.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
ARPA updates. Amanda, Nate, do you have any updates for us?
I already updated, I think, half of them earlier, and I think the other ones we just talked about through the authorizations to bid, so I think we're in pretty good shape, and these are all really moving well, and hopefully more updates here as the fall goes.
How about we move into the Octorara Trail updates?
Sure. We've had as I announced last time, we've had movement with SEPTA. We are trying to work out agreements now. We've responded to their team, notifying them that we were okay with their irrevocable language, and that now we're getting into the where we need to just hash out and actually sign agreements based on that. Additionally, our engineers are working on finalizing plans with some of the changes and movements that SEPTA requested, and we're trying to fine-tune those and get them in. We also were notified by the grantor that the extra funding, assuming all this moves forward, will be given, and we're looking pretty good, assuming we can just hit our marks and get things done. So we're hoping everybody works together and we get this accomplished and actually have construction starting in the summer of 2025 if all works well.
Any questions from my colleagues on this, or are we all pretty good?
So we wouldn't, at this point, it would be almost a year before construction would begin?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of approvals to obtain. It's a long process with the state. Money isn't free.
Okay, DCED, engagement with fire company for services. Amanda, what, do we have to take an action on this, or what is going on?
Actually, Lee and Joe, Dr. Hope, I can't not say it any other way, are here if anyone has questions. So they are looking to request some services from the DCED. As part of that, with the local government services unit, they are required to have sign-off by the municipality for their application requesting those services. The services that they're requesting have to do with planning, regionalization, and I think some of that is also financially related, looking at all of those items. Lee or Dr. Hope, let me know if I'm wrong, but council basically needs to acknowledge their reach out to DCED for that assistance.
Okay, do we require to have an action on this, or?
Yes, you do, because we sign off on it, so
Okay.
they can send it off.
So we would need a motion to, well, it looks as though on here the township manager would sign it,
Yes.
to authorize Amanda to sign this letter of intent with DCED engagement for the fire company services. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is the authorization of the township manager and solicitor to take the necessary steps to list the property at 804 Concord Road for sale. This was also known as the Aiello property. If anybody remembers, on Concord Road, it was an abandoned house with probably a parking lot's worth of cars in the front that the township took over and cleaned up and actually took deed to. And we want to, now that we have public sewers there, we want to put the steps in place to list it for sale to turn it back into cash. So we would need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is resolution number 29 of 2004, which it looks as though is reaffirming Resolution 26 of 2004. So something tells me this has something to do with the Commonwealth if we're doing it twice.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so-
This is the red tape that I hate, even as a local government manager.
And
So we sent off our approval of that, and it was in draft form, and they had comments, and final went back, and the dates have to be changed. So we just have to have the updated date of now. The document has not changed, nothing has changed, but we have to change our date to ensure that we are okay to get the reimbursement grant funding.
Okay, do we have a motion to do so? Do we have a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution 30 is the Orchard Knoll Sewer Module. This is something we do with subdivisions. It's required by the state. Do we have a motion to approve the sewer module for the Orchard Knoll development resolution for Act 537 Plan Revision?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution 31 of 2024, preliminary final land development, 120 Ivy Mills Road. Nate, you want to walk us through this?
Sure, this is pretty straightforward. Essentially, this is the creation of one new building lot on Ivy Mills Road. There's an existing house on this, essentially what will be created as kind of a flag lot here out to Ivy Mills, existing lot. There'll be a new lot fronting Ivy Mills Road here, and then there'll be the remaining piece of this property will be transitioned to the remainder of the Conrad property facing Smithbridge Road. So one new net building lot. The remainder of this portion goes to an existing parcel on Smithbridge Road, public sewer. It has a PennDOT HOP for the driveway access. They've done a very robust landscaping plan, address stormwater management. So this is as straightforward and as clean as it goes.
Any questions from anyone regarding the plan before we read the resolution into the record? Pretty clean. Okay, so it would be a final minor subdivision and land development plan approval, subject to the following conditions. 1, compliance with all comments in the Pannoni review letter dated July 2nd, 2024, and it's attached as an exhibit. Number 2, compliance with the comments in the fire marshal's email dated May 28th, 2024, also attached, and last revised July 9th. Number 3, compliance with all comments in Delaware County Planning Department letter dated June 21st, again attached. 4, compliance with PA DEP June 7th, 2024 sewage facility planning module exemption approval, also attached. Number 5, submission to the township of all required permits and external improvements, included but not limited to PennDOT highway occupancy permits, Williams Pipeline, and county on-lot sewage disposal permit. Number 6, plans to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. Number 7, an executed operation and maintenance agreement as well as a contribution to the municipal stormwater control and BMP operation and maintenance fund is required in the amount of $7,478. Number 8, all deeds for the properties, legal descriptions, and stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and the township solicitor prior to release of the signed plans. It is also understood and agreed that the deed for the 20.743 acres indicate that any further subdivision of said 20.743 acres shall require a submission of a major subdivision land development plan describing the proposed build-out of the entire 20 acres plus. Number 9, final one, signed, sealed, surveyor certificate of placement of monument pins must be filed with the township prior to the recording of the plan. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good luck with your project. Next is Resolution 32, preliminary final of NHB. Anyway, it's 1110 Baltimore Pike. It's the car wash. What do you got there, Nate?
So yeah, same thing. While typically this is maybe a little bit more of a complicated project, you guys have actually seen this, I believe, twice already, as I had to go through both the conditional use and the zoning hearing board process. So this plan here that we're looking at, we are looking at the intersection. This would be the southeast corner of Baltimore Pike and 202. This is at the existing hotel south of the old gas station. They're proposing a automated car wash in the existing parking lot of the hotel. Originally, these initial relief was regarding the parking count. As everybody recalls, that hotel is very large, various kind of banquet conference facilities, so they're able to overcome that hurdle regarding the parking. Since then, they've submitted their land development plans, and this is essentially the final result. They've addressed stormwater, the previous condition of cleaning up the existing basin, getting a PennDOT HOP for the access modifications, public sewer, and we are in pretty good shape on this one at this point.
Is anyone here on behalf of the applicant?
The
Okay.
design engineer and the property representative are here.
All right. Anybody have any questions, or should we just go with the resolution? We've seen this thing a few times. Larry, you have anything?
My only question is, in our packet, we have Exhibit 5, and then on the screen right now is Exhibit 4.
No, that's just sheet 4 of their plan set.
Oh, okay.
Good pickup, though. All right, well, let's take a shot at it. It's a preliminary final land development plan and by Inland Design, and it's for automatic car wash. It's approved it would be approved subject to the following conditions. Compliance with all comments contained in the Prononi review letter dated July 2nd, and all these exhibits are attached. Compliance with all comments in the HRG review letter dated June 21st. Compliance with all comments in the Tom Committee review letter dated March 18th and last revised on June 19th. Compliance with all comments in the fire marshal's email dated March 25th and revised June 7th. Compliance with all comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department review letter dated April 19th. Compliance with all conditions per Resolution 30-2023, which speaks to the conditional use approval. Compliance with all conditions per the February 22nd, 2024 decision from the Zoning Hearing Board. That is also attached. Compliance with the Design Review Committee comments, elevations and renderings dated revised date 5/29/24, and it's also set forth in a memo from Tom Committee dated 8/1/24, and that is also attached. Developer agrees to enter into development improvement security agreements prior to the release of the signed plans. Number 10, submission to the township of all required permits and external approvals included but not limited to PennDOT highway occupancy permits and PA DEP sewage planning module exemption approval. Number 11, plans to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. Number 12, lighting and landscaping must be maintained per the recorded plan and replaced in kind as needed. Any substitutions subject to the approval of the township. Number 13, an executed operating and maintenance agreement as well as a contribution to municipal stormwater control and BMP operation and maintenance fund is required in the amount of $13,284. Number 14, submission of fee in lieu of open space in the amount of $1,265 per Resolution 5 of 2024. And lastly, all deeds for the properties, legal descriptions, easements, and stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and township solicitor prior to release of the signed plans. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I forgot to ask you guys, are the conditions acceptable to the applicant? Yeah, I thought so.